Oh man, let me tell you something. But on a positive note, on a really positive note, I mean, can we have a good time today? I feel like having a good time. I'll tell you what, chip music is some of my favorite music. And this is a show I always wanted to do. Because I'm real passionate about this subject. And I've always been afraid to do this one. I don't know why. I figured, who the fuck is going to watch? But I'm at the point where I'm like, I don't care. So, let's talk about some of the greatest chip music ever made. I don't think you guys realize how important music is for a video game system. I think the Atari Jaguar, as horrific a game system as it was, I think if it had redeemable music on its games, it would have saved the console. Because that music gets buried nostalgically into your subconscious mind. And you can't deny it after a while. A game can have horrible graphics. As long as it has somewhat decent gameplay and maybe some kind of mission to accomplish, if you tag on some wonderful music, the game is sort of undeniable in my eyes. And I could play some pretty bad games if they have terrific music. Isn't that something? And some of the greatest video game music, in my eyes, is chip music. And I think the video game system that had the most underrated and the most overlooked sound chip of all time was the TurboGrafx 16. So what I'd like to do today is talk about some TurboGrafx games. These, and not only that, not only these games have exceptional chip music, they also have they're also exceptional games. So let's get right to it. And what a way to start than with Bloody Wolf. Number one, okay. You have super bands out there. I mean, you think of a band like Led Zeppelin. I mean, you had John Bonham on the drums, arguably the greatest drummer of all time, at least rock and roll drummer of all time. You had Jimmy Page, who was next to Jimi Hendrix. He might have been a greater guitar mind than Jimi Hendrix, but Jimi Hendrix was just so raw and passionate, and like, he's just like, I mean, he embodied the guitar, but Jimmy Page was more of the technician on the guitar, wasn't he though? I mean, this guy, we're talking about writing music, we're talking about composing music, we're talking about, I mean, then you mix in Robert Plant, who had this, just incredible voice. And John Paul Jones hanging back on the bass. He never got the due that he deserved, but one of the greatest bass players of all time. Here you go, you put this combination together, you have the most the most amazing rock and roll band of all time, correct? Well, here we go. These guys, I don't know who programmed the music on this game, but these guys are the Led Zeppelin of chip music. At least the Led Zeppelin of, I don't know who they are, and I guarantee you guys that are more up on chip music than I am, know exactly who programmed the music for this game. Because it absolutely blows the mind. music in this game is absolutely incredible. Not to mention it's playing, this is like one of the greatest running guns of all time. It has a storyline, it has the graphics, it has the speed, it has the music. You're getting muscle emphasis pills. Come on, baby, we're popping steroids. Oh my god, flamethrowers, machine guns, grenades, throwing. It's like Commando in the palm of your hands. You got these two, Eagle and Snake, these two steroid pumping guys, and they're out for blood. Spread shot? And it's one of my favorite things to do. What if I'm monkeying around downstairs or I'm cleaning up the house? I put on a little Bloody Wolf music. And boy, oh boy, it's almost the music, I think, is more nostalgic than anything else. Isn't it, though? Isn't it, though? You play it and it just takes you back to a time in your life where everything was fancy-free. I can remember playing Bloody Wolf and then walking home from Rex's house in the dark and being scared of my own shadow and running home. You know how you're walking home in the dark from your friend's house and you get the willies and you start running? And then you run and it makes you more paranoid because you can't hear anything while you're running. All you hear is your feet and your own breath and you're like, oh, they're around here somewhere, they're going to jump out, they're going to get me. And then this like paranoia builds up and the heart rate starts going. It's like, oh my God. It reminds me of the time, and it was right around this time of year. It was fall, leaves on the ground. It had to be the end of October, probably around Halloween time, which makes it even more creepy. And I'm coming home from Rex's house. I know we just got done playing TurboGrafx. That was one thing for sure. And as I'm coming home, I see my sister and her boyfriend in his Monte Carlo out in front of the house. And I guess he's dropping her off and whatnot, but they're talking before he drops her off. And I said, oh my God, this is prime time, baby. I get down, I crouch down on the front lawn behind a tree. And I remember there was still like big piles of leaves because my father had raked up. Big piles of leaves everywhere. She gets out of the car, she's walking up the driveway. Now this is like, I don't know, midnight, 11 o'clock at night. I get down on my hands and knees and I start running at her like a wild animal and just grunting like a dog, and I'm shooting the leaves out like this. What she must have seen must have been so incredibly frightening that she just went up like a 2x4. She went like this and screamed at the top of her lungs. And as I approached her with leaves slinging and whatnot, and when I got to her, she saw it was me, and I just started cracking up laughing. She collapsed on the floor crying. Now my mother at the time had like a surgery on her ankle or something like that, And I even think she might have been on crutches. So next thing, it was so loud, my sister's scream. My mother comes barreling out of the house on her crutches, which made me feel real bad. What happened? What happened? And then my father was quick to follow behind her in his robe. He might have been in his underwear, too. And my mother comes running up to my sister. She's basically like a quivering mound of flesh laying on the floor in a fetal position crying. And my father and I'm laughing, and my father takes a quick assessment of what just happened, and he goes, "What are you, an asshole?" Yeah. Yeah, Pop. Oh my God. Bloody wolf. Let me sip of coffee for scaring the shit out of your sister. It's nothing better. There's nothing better. I think of all the jump scares I gave her, and some of them I really feel bad about. Like she was a little thing, and I remember, they gave her a key to the house. Remember when you were that age? I don't know, 13, 12, 13. She was probably like 12. They gave her the key to the house, and I remember I was in like what? I was probably in high school. She was in junior high. And, high school kids got out earlier. So I remember coming home, looking out the window and seeing her come home from school. She had a little key and whatnot. So I locked the door, and I head inside her closet. She comes home alone with the key, opens up the door. This was bad. I waited for her to come in her room, and I sprung out of a closet. And again, like, I don't know how she didn't have a heart attack. Imagine how scared you are. You're a little girl. You come home. You're in the house by yourself, and your dopey brother jumps out of the closet and scares the shit out of you. It was funny, but at the same time, I look back at it and I feel bad. Yeah. To this day, she probably wakes up in cold sweats. Sorry. All right. Here we go. I'm going to tell you something. It was Christmas morning when I got my Grafx 16. Does anybody care? Sometimes I talk about this stuff and I'm like, all right. It was Christmas morning, and under the tree was my Grafx with R-Type and Legendary Axe 2. Now, keep in mind, I had played Legendary Axe 1, and the soundtrack to Legendary Axe 1 is very, what do I want to say? Maybe there's like a samba going on there. It's very ethnic, like Latin. Okay? So I was kind of used to that soundtrack when it came to Legendary Axe. So I was expecting that when I played Legendary Axe 2, but wow, how different it was. In Legendary Axe, you were some kind of axe-wielding barbarian with this wild red hair. Sip of coffee for red hair. In Legendary Axe 2, you were this knight, right? With a crown. And you were swinging a sword at first. And it was such a dark atmosphere. Not like the jungles of Legendary Axe 1. This was in the castle, right? And there were all these zombies, and you were slicing them in half, and you were cutting off their heads, and they were still coming at you. And this was more platform driven, and this game was dark, man. And the only thing darker than the graphics was the music. The music was so ominous. Oh man, the music was so killer in this game. It was like, what is going on? And this is so violent. I can remember it was either this game or Sword of a Million when my aunt came over the house, and she commented to my mother about how macabre the music was. That's like the greatest thing you could hear an older person say about your video games, right? It's like, yeah, baby, you better believe it. It was almost like you worried about the kid playing a game like this because it was so morbid, right? Oh yeah, Legendary Axe 2, man. What fantastic music. You know what? I feel like we listen to music today, of course. If I listen to Iron Maiden, I know we got Bruce Dickinson, we got Steve Harris, we got Dave Murray, Adrian Smith, and we got Nico on the drums, right? We know these things. But when we listen to this chip music, the artists are lost. Listen, I know some of you geeks out there actually know the names of these guys. Yamamoto Yomashima, I don't know. This is usually these Japanese guys. They get lost in the mix. Where's the recognition? How come their name isn't on the back of the box? It should be. That's the funny thing about this chip music. It's almost like these guys, there's no notoriety in it. It was like, what was, I always wondered how much they got paid for like a track on a song, on a game. It was probably peanuts. You probably got next to nothing for it. And it was such a craft. It was such an art. It's an art. Oh yeah. Even harder than the musical instruments that you play, because the guy programming the song, and I don't know if there was one guy or if there was a team of guys, right? Because number one, you have to envision all the instruments, okay? Then you have to try to make them sound like the instruments, through the computer, and then you have to program the song. So it's like, there's a lot of layers to what's going on in this shit music. I just picture these Japanese guys like smoking cigarettes profusely and just like toiling away in an apartment somewhere. Or some type of like ramshackle rundown studio. Holy smokes. How unassuming. How unassuming. Look at this cover art, folks. Who would buy this game? Who? Who in their right mind? If you didn't hear anything about it. This is one of the things that I think kept Dungeon Explorer more of a, I don't want to say underground. But I would say not a lot of people played Dungeon Explorer coming up with the TurboGrafx 16. And this is like the premier action RPG on the TurboGrafx. I'll tell you right now, it's like Gauntlet. It's got this great storyline. You choose from all these characters. I don't have to tell you about Dungeon Explorer these days. But the thing I have to tell you about Dungeon Explorer is I think that, what do you have? You have albums like Hysteria, right? Wasn't it Hysteria? Def Leppard, Hysteria? Where every song on the fucking album was like a radio hit? Okay, they're not my favorite band of all time, but boy, do you gotta respect that album. What did they go into the studio with Phil Spector? Wasn't he like holding a gun to their heads and stuff like that? Wasn't it like, it was like Injustice for All, Metallica, right? It was like this album that was recorded to perfection. I mean, some would argue, right? But I mean, let's face it, Injustice for All is a beautifully recorded album. Can we all agree? And it was like, wasn't it Def Leppard? They were like, these guys were having like a nervous breakdown because this guy Phil wanted one take after another. He had him in the studio like 24 hours a day. Interesting story about that. Who was the singer from Def Leppard? I forget his name. Anyway, he was doing all these hours in the studio, doing take after take after take after take, and basically almost like on the verge of nervous breakdown. And he said that he was taking a rest, and he went a couple studios over, and he walked in, and David Coverdale was recording for an album. And he was blown away by the fact that David Coverdale was basically doing everything in one take. That's how talented David Coverdale was. Oh, David Coverdale, we forget, right? Whitesnake, Still of the Night? Where were you? Still of the Night, baby. Still of the Night, which was basically their Whole Lot of Love, let's face it. Okay? You know how it goes into the little interlude in the middle? Everybody that has that little interlude, and I can count there are so many songs that have that interlude that's like, it's like, oh, this is the Whole Lot of Love interlude, right? You guys are doing it now. Anyhow, baby. Yeah, Still of the Night. What the fuck is this? What does somebody decide to throw out the trash at 4 o'clock in the morning from now on? Anyhow, I don't know what the fuck we were talking about. Oh, albums. Okay, yeah. It's Def Leppard. I mean, this is a game where you can't find a bad song. You can't find a snoozer on this game. Every single song is an absolute classic. And it's true. They're all classic. And this game has everything. It has the dark songs. has the happy songs. And they're all outstanding. And the great thing about Dungeon Explorer, we all know, it's a multiplayer game. I think you can play up to 5 people at the same time, which is like absolutely ridiculous. Fun levels off the charts. I only had the opportunity to play it 2 players with my friend Georgie. Okay, but because we didn't know enough people that owned the TurboGrafx 16 to play 5 players in Dungeon Explorer. I mean, you'd probably have to round up people from around the country to find 5 players. What a shame. What a shame. Oh my God. And they knew how good the music was. Because one of the characters was the bard. And his special magic, his white magic, was he could actually change the music in the game. Oh, what a great feature. That was such a great feature. I would use the bard all the time. He was the weakest character. He was basically useless. But I knew the game from the palm of my hand to the... Don't know what I'm talking about. I knew the game so well that I could beat it with the bard. And trust me, it's an accomplishment. Beat it with the bard and just sit there and flip the music around. Like a fucking walking jukebox. Are you serious right now? Dungeon Explorer. Whew. Jeez. The hairs go up when I think about the music. You think I'm kidding you? You don't even know. A sip of coffee for the bard. For beating the game with the bard. Okay, you haven't done shit until you've beaten the game with the bard. Are you kidding me? Which brings us to this arcade beating game right here. Better than the arcade on the TurboGrafx 16, Cadash. Okay? Here's another one of those games that is so severely overrated. It gets me so aggravated when I watch people do a let's play of this game, and then they give up on the first level, totally dismiss the game, and give it a poor review. It happens way too often. This game is one of the biggest masterpieces on the TurboGrafx 16 that nobody even realizes. Oh yeah, it is. Oh yeah, it is. And one of the reasons why it's such a masterpiece is because the music is The music in this game is bonkers. Oh my god, I got it going through my head right now. Pick your poison. You want to be the priest? You want to be the mage? You want to be the ninja? I mean, go for it. You want to be the barbarian? Priest, mage, ninja, mage, barbarian, priest. 4 characters. Son of a bitch. 4 characters. You better believe it, baby. Oh my god. Cadash. Yeah. Oh, you're in for a treat right here. I mean, this game had it all, right? Another more action than RPG, side-scrolling action RPG, and talk about action, man. I mean, this game had the graphics. That's for sure. When I bought this game was the package deal because it had the graphics. It had the music. Oh, baby. I remember going into an electronics boutique and just seeing it hanging there. And I had to have it. $53.99. $53.99. And I got news for you. The price didn't budge on Cadash. And it was only up there for a little while. I mean, as soon as I saw it, I bought it. I remember I went into, I must have had birthday money or something. Or did I see it and then I went out and I mowed a couple lawns. I had to have it. I had to have it. Absolutely had to have it. This was a summertime game, right? Oh, I remember. Indian style on the living room floor, summertime. Baby, on my Emerson TV. On my Emerson color TV. Right? With the touch sensitive on and off button. That was back in the day when the remote control used to click. Remember that? They called it the clicker. Give me the clicker, will you? Oh yeah. To have a remote control on a TV, but that was the first TV that we got with a remote control. Oh, it was a huge deal. The remote control. I don't have to get up and turn the dial. You used to have to get up and turn the dial. Until 1984. When did we had a black and white TV. Okay, we actually had a nice roof antenna, so we always had good reception. But we had a black and white TV up until what, 84? When we got a color TV, or Emerson color TV, the first episode of Who's the Boss. It was the very first episode. I remember we're going to watch Who's the Boss in color. With a remote control. Oh my God, my head was going to explode. My head was going to explode. And the other great thing about it is it had this touch sensitive, like you just touched this piece of metal on a TV and it would turn the TV on. It was like, Jesus Christ. They got this technology from Area 51. It's from the spaceship. It's right off the spaceship. Oh yeah, I had an Emerson TV, I had an Emerson tape player. Oh, that TV was built in America, baby. And it would have lasted forever if it didn't get struck by lightning. The antenna of the house got struck by lightning. Me and my sister were watching Saturday morning cartoons when it happened. It was one of the scariest moments of my life. The TV went like this, and it made a noise. It went boom, just like that, boom, into like a little dot that glowed for a little bit and then died. Oh my God, we ran into my parents' room screaming. Took the TV to the repairman. DOA, baby. Get a new TV. Alright. Yeah, Cadash, man. You got to build momentum in this game. You can't give up on the first board. You got to build some momentum. The first board might be the hardest board in the whole game. So just think about it that way. You got to keep on going. Okay, we're focusing on TurboGrafx games today. Chip games for that matter. And I'm trying to steer clear of shooters because I talk so much about shooters and whatnot. But there is one that I have to mention that I don't really mention that much. But we're not going to talk about that one right this minute. Okay, the next game we're going to talk about, and these games I don't have. So, Alien Crush. I mean, we could talk about Devil's Crush. We know how good the music is in Devil's Crush. But I grew up with Alien Crush. Okay? And Alien Crush, never mind the actual playfield music, but to me, some of the great chip music was on the bonus games. Wow! Boy, oh boy, you go right back in time. You don't have to build a time machine. Yeah, honestly, you don't. Wow, Alien Crush. I mean, these were two. Alien Crush, Devil's Crush. I had Devil's Crush later on. I never had it as a kid. But Alien Crush, Devil's Crush at the time, you didn't get a more realistic pinball experience. And when I got it, I was a little pissed off. I was like, what is this, fucking pinball game? This one I got, this is another one. I might have got it for a birthday, or it might have been the following Christmas. But I know I didn't pick it. I thought, do you think I was going to pick a fucking pinball game at Toys R Us? It was the last game I was going to buy. But wow, how glad I am that I got Alien Crush. And man, I wish I could have recorded it, because I went on some runs in Alien Crush. I'm no pinball player, but I went on some runs in Alien Crush that I know were record-breaking runs. I mean, we're talking about playing for a long time. I wish I could remember the scores. I should have wrote them down. And it was not by skill. It was purely by accident and luck. Because I just used to play Alien Crush all the time. And then once I played Alien Crush, I wanted Devil's Crush so bad. But there were just so many sweet options out there. I'm like, am I really going to go for another pinball game? It was like that kind of stigma. Because I got news for you. In the 90s, nobody was playing pinball. Sorry. Early 90s? Sorry. Arcades were way too exciting. Home console gaming, nobody was going to buy a pinball game. What, are you kidding me? This is $50 I'm dropping. I'm not going to buy it on a game that simulates a pinball game. Not going to happen. Okay? And when you went out to the arcade, you wouldn't touch that pinball machine. We had Street Fighter over here. World Heroes over there. Samurai Showdown over here. Art of Fighting over here. The Simpsons. X-Men. Operation Wolf. This is exciting arcade games coming out. Pinball's a phenomenon now because arcades are basically dead. They're not showing you anything new in the arcades anymore. It's not the cutting edge. The arcades was the cutting edge of video gaming. Sorry. It was it. It was where it was at. This was the best of the best. And I was not going to walk into an arcade and flub around with some pinball machines. You know what the pinball machine was good for? You rest your soda on it while you do other things. So I get it. Everybody likes pinball now. I get it. Everybody's dissecting the pinball machine now, right? Oh, the gameplay. You don't understand how deep the gameplay is. Yeah, I understand. You figured it out now. But in the early 90s, you weren't trying to figure out how deep a pinball machine was. Christ. Okay. And I think the only shooter that we will talk about, and because, I don't know, we're going to talk about Dragon Spirit, baby. And Dragon Spirit, to me, is a mid-range shooter. It's a good shooter. It's a good shooter. But there is a standout track on Dragon Spirit that I got to listen to over and over and over again. And it's an absolutely... the first time I heard this track, and it was hard for me to follow it in-game because I was so focused on playing the game. But I listened to it afterwards. I was listening to some Grafx music that somebody compiled. And I heard it outside of the game, and I'm like, what the fuck is this song from? And I ran to the playlist down below where this was playing. And it was Dragon Spirit. And I said, holy shit. And I went back and I played the level that was on. And I'm like, this is one of the most incredible chiptunes I ever heard in my life. Baby, Dragon Spirit. I tell you what. Alright. So here's another one that has some of the most... This game, I'm going to tell you right now, another overlooked TurboGrafx game. It's Vig's Tactical Gladiator. And the thing about this game is, the music in this game is absolutely fantastic, so underrated, so nobody talks about it. Nobody talks about it. Nobody talks about the game, number one. Okay? Everybody's afraid of this game for some reason. Here's another game where I watch people play it. And they play the first level and they're like, this game is crap, it's garbage, blah, blah, blah. You better get... Let me tell you something right now. You're going to review a game for me, you better take it to the end. Then you start flapping your gums about it. You motherfucks. You real motherfucks out there. Anyhow, Vig's Tactical Gladiator. This was a game that had a theme to the music. You know, you listen to like Dungeon Explorer music, and one song to the next is completely different. But in Vig's Tactical Gladiator, there was this theme, not just of the instruments, but of the songs had this feel to them, like a very technical, almost like industrial feel that fit the game so perfectly. And there are some tracks on this game that as you listen to them, that throughout the game, it's like they all blend together. Right? And it just burns into your mind after a while, that style. That style. I would love to hang out with some of these chiptune programmers and just sit down with them, have a drink, and smoke a carton of cigarettes. Talking about chip music, I'd love to talk about certain songs and like where they were at that time in their life, and maybe they were a young man and just like full of beans and and expressing themselves through this music that virtually nobody's going to hear, right? Maybe they were just like struggling artists or whatnot, and like, what happened? Maybe they started their career with that music from that game. Maybe they ended their career with that music on that game. Where you're at, your age, and all of this is very important to how you compose music. And let's be real here. These men are composers. Men and women. I don't know. Who are they? I don't know. That's the greatest mystery of it all. Anyhow. Wow. You still here? Is anybody still here? I don't know. Very experimental show. But it's something that I really wanted to talk about today. And I got news for you guys. You just tuned into the greatest video game program in the history of human civilization. And you better believe that. With a 4K face! I'll see you next time.